for the first question here, the question are evaluating you on simple interest. The final answer they wanted is to be in interest format. So pretty straightforward, just take 600 times 2% times 8 years, then you'll get your results as 96. But for question 2, okay, so you're required to square all the variables inside first. Then you run your manual calculation to convert the denominator as 100. So your final results, 17 over 100 equals to 0.17. So question 3, Jamie needs 300 grams of flour to mix 20 cakes. So how many she needs for 12 cakes? So you're required to find how much flour is required for one cake first. So to do that, you have to take 300 grams divided by 20, which is 15 grams. So to make 12 cakes, simply takes 12 times 15, then you will get 180 grams. For question 4, expand the bracket. To do that, simply multiply the 4 into the variables inside of the bracket. So you will get 3y minus y to the power 4 as your final result. Question 5. Okay, so 84 as a rent and increased by 5%. So the 84 here is actually the original amount, and you're required to find the price after it increases. Okay, so you are required to take 84 times 105% equals to 88.2. Question 6. Okay, to do this question, okay, you're required to extend your compasses more than half of the length between T and R. Okay, uses the same length and draw two curves from the point T and point R. Okay, then the intersection will form the locus of point which are equidistant from R and T. Okay, for question 7, you're required to give your answer corrected to 4 significant figures. So all I did was to type it into your calculator, then you will get 144 over 17 as your answer. Okay, then convert it into decimal and uses 4 significant figures only. So the numbers behind the 0 is 5, hence you're required to round it up. So your final results, 8.471. But for question 8, okay, as usual, for upper bound and lower bound question, you're required to find the rounding value first. Okay, nearest milliliter. Okay, divide by 2 equals to plus minus 0.5 ml. Okay, so the 250, you are required to find the upper bound by taking 250 plus 0.5, whereby for the lower bound simply takes 250 minus 0.5. For question 4, okay, first part is actually everything other than A. Okay, so you're required to shade off everything other than A. Whereby for part 2, okay, so first thing that I did was I identified that P intersect with R first. Okay, and then I shade off the entire Q. Okay, key things about this question is the signage between P intersect with R and Q is a union. So every part that was previously shaded, okay, must be remain. Hence the results above. Question 10 without using the calculator. So first thing first, I change 49 into 7 to the power of 2 and 4 to the power of 2 for the 16 over there. Okay, then I multiply the power into both of the variables. Okay, your final results will actually be 7 to the power of negative 3 over 4 to the power of negative 3. So to get rid of the negative at the power section, simply swap them. Okay, then you get 64 over 343. For question 11, okay, 256 is actually 4 to the power of 4. Then you multiply the 1 over 4 into it. You will get your final results as 4w to the power of 64. For question 12, to identify frequency densities, all you need to do is to take the frequency divided by the class interval. So as usual, the rule of thumb is always calculate the results that was given first, which is the 18 for the group 0.5 to 1.5. So the frequency for this is actually 18 and the class interval is actually 1. So 18 divided by 1 is 18. So this proves that there's no scale factor involvement. Then you can proceed with the remaining calculation. So for the group between 0 to 0.5, you just take 20 divided by 0.5. Your frequency density will be 40 and repeat the same. And take 9 divided by 1.5, your results will be 6. For question 13, okay, all I did here was to change the denominator of all three variables there into 12. Hence, for the group x plus 2, I'm required to multiply it by 4. And for the group 2x minus 1, you're required to multiply it by 3. And for the last one, you take 1 times 12. After you run the calculation, you will get 23 minus 2x over 12 as the final results. As for question 14, the keyword here is inversely. So y equals to k over square root of x. Okay, key in the variables 9 and 6 into the position. Okay, and find the k first. So after the calculation, your k will actually be 18. Okay, so you have the formula now as y equals to 18 over square root of x. Substitute the 36 in and you get your results as plus minus 3. Okay, so for the next question, question 15, do take note that the scale there actually represent 1 cm to 200 cm. So the final answer they wanted must be in meters square. Okay, and based on the scale factor that we have, 1 cm is actually equivalent to 2 meters. Okay, so 1 cm square is actually 1 cm times 1 cm. Hence, you take 2 meters times 2 meters equals to 4 meters square. So take the 7,500 times 4 meters square. Your final results will be 30,000 meter square. Question 16, pretty straightforward. all the workings details has been attached. You can just refer to how did I do the shifting and find your final answer as square root of pi x squared minus a over pi. Question 17. Okay, the key information here is actually the arc length of 4r. Okay, they wanted you to find the value of BOA, okay, which is a angle. So unknown over 360 times 2 pi times r. So the r here is represented by 5r equals to 4r. Run the manual calculation, then you should get your sector angle as 45.84 degree. Okay, and to find the area, simply takes 45.84 divided by 360 times pi times 5r bracket square. So your results will be 10r squared. Whereby for question 18, we'll be using sine rule to identify the angle of BAC. However, the key words here is they are looking for obtuse, which are angles with value more than 90 and less than 180. So the 57.8 degree that you identify simply doesn't qualify. So all you need to do is to take 180 minus 57.8. You will get your final results as 122.2. Question 19. Okay. First thing first, they wanted you to identify the deceleration. So whenever you saw this keyword here, all you need to remember is to use gradient formula. Okay. And your final results that you've gotten will be in negative. However, when you transfer it to your final results column, do take note to remove the negative because it was already been represented using the keyword in the question, deceleration. Okay, so just simply set one of the coordinates as x2 and y2 and the other one as x1 and y1. Run the calculation, your final results will be 0.625. For speed time graph, question B, to identify the total distance, simply takes the area calculation. So I basically split this particular graph into two parts. Okay, two different trapezium, and I utilize the trapezium formula to identify your final answer as 62. Question 20, part A. Okay, so the key assessment here is actually the third sentence. E is on CD, so that CE equals to 2ED. So what this represents is that for C, D itself is actually 3ED. So ED will be 1/3 of CD and CE will be 2/3 of CD. So after you've gotten that, okay, you can now identify DE's value. DE is actually a reverse of ED that we identified earlier. Okay, so rule of thumb is to find CD first. To do that, you have to take CO plus OD equals to negative C plus D, and I find ED's value. ED's value is actually 1/3 of CD, and to get to DE, simply multiply a negative into it. So it basically changed up the C from negative into positive and the D from positive into negative. So your final results, 1/3 bracket C minus D. Whereby for you to identify position vector of E, Okay, this is actually from the origin to the point E. So OD plus DE will be your final result. OD itself is D plus DE that we've gotten earlier, which is 1/3 bracket C minus D. So your final answer, 1/3C plus 2/3D, or 1/3 bracket C plus 2D. Both answer is acceptable, just choose whatever you are more comfortable with and stick with it. For question 21, so you're basically required to run the factorization for the numerator, and for the denominator we are using the a squared minus b squared formula. Okay, so I basically break them up. For numerator, it becomes h minus 5 bracket h plus 4, whereby for the denominator it becomes h plus 5 bracket h minus 5. So the h minus 5 here is repeating, then I get rid of it. So your final results, we have h plus 4 over h plus 5. Question 22 here, okay, part A is pretty straightforward. It is actually finding the inverse of n. All the full details working has already been attached. So I would like to skip this part and proceed with explanation on B number 1. Okay, identify D multiplied with I. Anything multiplied with identity matrix will be equivalent to itself. So D doesn't change. So for part 2, identifying x in terms of D and E. Okay, D times x equals to E. Okay, in order to get rid of D itself, we are required to take D inverse multiplied by D. Okay, because any matrix, when you take itself multiplied with its inverse, you will get identity matrix. Okay, so after you multiply D inverse in, do take note that on both sides you must multiply it. Okay, so we have D inverse times E now on the right hand side. So your final answer, x equals to D inverse times E. Question 23, part A. Okay, we have G bracket 3. So substitute the 3 into Gx first, you will get it as 11. So the 11 here represents the value x. Then you run the manual calculation again, you will get your final answer as 43. Whereby for part B, okay, give your answer in your simplest form. Gx itself is actually 4x minus 1, and this 4x minus 1 will then be substituted into the x position in the function x. So you have 3 bracket 4x minus 1 plus 5. After the calculation, you will get 12x plus 2, or you can write it as 2 bracket 6x plus 1. For part C, okay, as usual, I have a 3-step formula that you can follow to identify the F inverse. Okay, so first thing first, I change fx into y, followed by swapping x and y's position, okay, and rearrange it to identify your new y. So your new y here is actually the inverse of f, and it is x minus 5 over 3. As given by the question, this x minus 5 over 3 is equivalent to 11. Run your manual calculation and you get your x final results as 38. Here, question 24. Okay, to identify the length of DP, the first thing that you need to do is to identify the base of this triangle DPB, which is DB here. By using the Pythagoras theorem, combine the value of 10 and 5, you will get your BD's value as 5 square root 5. And for you to identify this P value, okay, you use your Pythagoras theorem again. So your final answer is actually square root of 161, which is equivalent to 12.7. As for part B, the angle between DP and the horizontal rectangle ABCD. Okay, so to do that, okay, since we already gotten the value of DB and DP, okay, the angle PDB, okay, the 6 cm is its opposite, and the 5 square root 5 cm is actually its adjacent. So tangent PDB equals to 6 over 5 square root 5. Tangent inverse 6 over 5 square root 5 will get you 28.2. So this 28.2 will be your final results. So thank you for watching. I hope you find this helpful. Okay, if you have friends that are struggling, feel free to share this to them. I wish you all the best in your upcoming examination. Thank you.